Welcome back, everybody, to a Final Fantasy trading card set review. It's Opus 12, and I'm joined once again with Travis Pfeifer.
Hey, Alex. Oh, man. I am so excited to be back. It feels like it's been so long since we've done one of these. This has been the longest Opus, going through Opus 11, so I'm stoked to be back here doing these videos with you.
Absolutely.
Always a good time on Magissa Gaming.
Yeah, I know it's been a delayed set, right? But I mean, just in general, there's been a lot less FFTCG going on. I haven't been playing online, so once again, I'm a little bit rusty. And whenever I saw a spoiler, it would get me kind of pumped. And thinking about decks and stuff. But do you know what actually got me super pumped for this set?
What's that?
Listening to you on the RVA Returners podcast. So seriously, I it's like I'm not all the way done because it's a ridiculously long episode for a podcast. It's like 2.5 hours long, but I'm almost through the whole thing, and just hearing you guys talk about spoilers and about the tournaments and the different things going on that have been happening. It's just got me super psyched to play FFTCG and super psyched to record these videos with you. So without further ado, you're gonna start us off.
Oh, my pleasure, sir. Well, the very first card we've got in our Element here of Fire is for a job that I really like to play, so I'm definitely going to give this one a new try. This is Aigis. Aigis is a 5-cost, 9,000 power forward. He is category FFL, and his job is Warrior of Light. Aigis reads, the job Warrior of Light forwards you control can form a party with job Warrior of Light forwards of any element. His second effect reads, when Aigis enters the field, you may play one job Warrior of Light of cost 4 or less from your hand onto the field. So this card is undeniably great for what he does. My only real moment of hesitation is, do I play this or the 4-drop Aigis? Because I like that card a lot, and that card can technically play any 2-cost. Whereas this one is restricted to Warrior of Light, plus that other Aigis gives all the other Warriors of Light Brave, which is super relevant. So he's definitely, I will do a little testing of which one do I like better or not. That being said, there's no denying that the entry effect of this guy is incredible. You play him down, and then you maybe play the new Dusk, or you can play the Light Warrior of Light that flips over the top 5 cards of your deck, and then maybe get another card that way. Or on the offhand chance you're playing Title, you play this Aigis into the other Aigis, into another Soul. Just that kind of entry value is so good. His first effect, I don't know. The Warriors of Light get so big as forwards on their own that I've never really felt like they need to party attack. There are a few specific ones that have kind of new party twists, like the new Soul coming up we'll talk about. So, but other than that, I don't know how relevant that part will be. But even so, even without that, he's still a big body, and he's going to bring something out for free when you play him. So I like him a lot.
Absolutely. And personally, I think the party attack piece is actually no one's expecting us to party attack for power. It's purely to work with all these new party attack synergies, because we've got party attack synergy in this set in a bunch of different colors. And if you're building a multicolored deck, which you are with the Warrior of Lights, then maybe there's some ways that you want to work that in with some of the cards. And then obviously with the new Soul, which we'll cover, that's a big part of it too. So is it going to be super relevant? I don't know, probably not, but I think that was the intent more than the traditional sense of partying up.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, thumbs up for me on the artwork. He looks really good here.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got Amaterasu, the crazy fire summon that everyone was waiting for. Although I like the other fire summon a lot too. So this card we've known about for a really, really long time, and I'll just go over it first. So it's a 3 CP summon. It has the text, choose one auto ability, cancel its effect. If the cancel auto ability triggered from a forward, deal that forward 8,000 damage. So this gives us a new level of interaction that we didn't have previously, which is just that summon speed canceling of auto abilities. And auto abilities are one of the most powerful abilities in FFTCG. So this is certainly welcome in the game. I don't even actually know, I think it just seems really fair to me. You have to hold on to it. You need to like, you know, you're not always going to hit a forward with it, or you might not even kill a forward all the time with it. It just seems like a really solid addition to the meta to make people think a little bit more.
Yeah. There's been a lot of buzz about this one. I kind of see this card as like totally game changing. Maybe I'll be wrong about that. Maybe it won't end up being as great as it to me reads that it is. But like you said, auto abilities are so strong just because there's so few things in the game that deal with them. So I think just by the nature of having another card that deals with them is inherently valuable, and especially it's a summon, so you can cast it at instant speed. So I have a feeling, my prediction is I will come back at the end of this opus and be like, yep, it was just as strong as I thought it was. It's everywhere, yada, yada, yada. But I'll more than admit at the end if I was like, I was wrong, nobody uses this.
My benchmark for it is Mist Dragon, and it's, again, a similar summon. It cancels summons and it blanks break zones, so you use it to counter people's abilities to kind of thwart their plans. And while Mist Dragon is an incredibly powerful card, it's by no means broken or anything like that. It's something that you often, if you get too greedy holding on for it too long, floating CP for too long, you end up getting burnt, and it can really affect your game. So I think this falls into the same category that if you wait for that perfect ETB, that perfect auto ability, you're going to end up hurting yourself more than you're helping. All right, what's next?
Next, we have something I've wanted in the game for a while now. I didn't quite get it the way I wanted to, but that's okay. So this is Alisaie, Job Scion of the Seventh Dawn from Final Fantasy XIV. I believe this is her Shadowbringer outfit, to be specific. Or is that the Stormblood one? I think it's a Shadowbringer one. Either way, she's a 3 CP forward, 7k. Alisaie has the text: when Alisaie enters the field, select one of the two following actions. Play one card Alphinaud from your hand onto the field, or search for one card Alphinaud and add it to your hand. So Alisaie instantly buffs up Louisoix, the backup, gives him another card to search for. The fact that on entry she can search for a card named Alphinaud means that if you don't have him in hand for that first effect, instantly play him, you can go get him. And it just says card name Alphinaud, so it can be the backup Alphinaud, it can be a forward Alphinaud. Again, it kind of just feels like she handles... I like that she handles both situations, that, oh, you have him? Here you go, play him right away. Oh, you don't have him? Well, go get him. Really, man, if only she had someone else to play with her, but we might see that coming up. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, everything about her reads really sweet for what she does. And I love the art. I mean, I've always loved the twins. I've got a soft spot for them.
Big time. I'm the same way. And you know what? Let's just go right into it. So, okay, so here we have Alphinaud, and he's on screen. So he is a 3 CP fire forward, 7k power job, Scion of the Seventh Dawn. And he has the text... when Alphinaud enters the field due to your summons or abilities, you may search for one character and add it to your hand. So the reason I just kind of jumped right into this one from Alisaie is that you really, really want to play him off Alisaie. So that's where Alisaie it feels very fair to me. When you first read her, you're like 7k searcher, forward, like all this stuff that's like really good. Why is she on curve? It's because she only searches one target, and if you're playing her with this Alphinaud, then if you searched him, then that's kind of a shame, because you're not going to just play him. You're not going to play him as a a blank 7k, not necessarily at least. So that's why I think she's actually quite fair. And even if you get both of them out, you might have a lot of tempo, but you still just have 7k forward. So I do think that they're like a really fun and powerful combo, but I don't think that this is a really cool. They've really threaded the needle here for playability without going too strong. But you have other Alphinauds as well with Alisaie, so there's other options there if you're doing lightning fire. But this Alphinaud also does play with any other recursion. If you have Devout, if you have 7 CP Phoenix, there's other ways to work with him. So I think that there's going to be multiple possibilities here, and to be able to search for a character, any character at all, that is incredibly powerful. So you're definitely going to build a deck that has multiple outlets to be playing him.
Yeah, Alex took care of that perfectly. And yeah, they really designed these well, particularly Alphinaud, that the key part is that it's anytime he enters due to a summon or ability. So if they had tied him exclusively to Alisaie, that like it's only when he comes in off her trigger, I honestly don't think it would be very good, because then it would require you have him in hand when you play her. But because he can just enter anyway, you can use a 3 CP Phoenix, bring him in. Now you search for another character. Like you said, you can use a Devourer or any of those other backups that can cheat in a forward that way. And now you get this body, plus you can go search for any character. So yeah, I really like the design of these 2 cards. It feels like they really thought about them.
Now there is one more forward we're going to talk about that will possibly have some synergy here. But before we get there, we have to talk about a very cool summon. So Travis, take it away.
This is Ifrit. In case you've been living under a rock, the premier fire summon in Final Fantasy. Ifrit, he's a summon category FFEX. It's a new category, I think. A lot of stuff is from this set. I don't remember seeing it before, but I think it's a new category.
It's Final Fantasy Explorers, which is a game my brother told me to play a bunch of times and I never did. So sorry about that, bro.
I've never played it either. So Ifrit is a 5 CP summon with an EX burst, and he reads very simply, choose a forward, deal it 9,000 damage. So easily this goes into the Ifrit deck, the fire control deck, where you just have all these Ifrit summons with a Frida, and then, blah, 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 boom, blow up the board. That's a no-brainer. He's an EX burst. My real question about this card is, because its text is so simple, is how valuable is this over some of the other Ifrits? For example, I'll use the 3 CP Ifrit that came out in Opus X. That one is 3 CP and deals 8,000 damage to a forward, and then it also buffs all your fire characters by 2. But for 2 CP more on this one, you get 1k more damage and an EX burst. So again, if you're not playing that Ifrit deck, if you're not playing a deck that's jammed full of Ifrits, do you prefer this one over the 3 CP one? You get 1k more and it's a burst, but it's also 2 CP more to pay out a hand and you don't get that buff. So I'm not honestly sure. That's something I would want to test. I'm kind of leaning towards that. I would still prefer that other Ifrit for just like generic uses, but there's no doubt that for the big Ifrit blow up deck, you're using this one, no doubt. What do you think?
I mean, you got to put your hands together and play them both. I think,
okay,
to be honest, I think that they're different enough though. Like this one is awesome. First of all, I love the art, and then it goes well in a Oops All EX Burst deck. I think that this actually replaces the 4 CP EX Dissidia Ifrit. That's 7k normal cast, 8k on EX Burst. Is that what it does?
Yeah.
Well,
and then there's another one that goes off based off the backups you have. That's the 11 version.
And like those were run for the EX Burst. So I would much rather run this for the EX Burst over those ones. I actually think this sucks to cast. Like if I was going to cast an Ifrit, I'm going to cast the 3 CP one. Like 5 CP is a whole nother realm, and I just don't think that's doable on a regular basis. If that's what your deck is doing on a regular basis, then you need to rebuild your deck. But I think that in a pinch, it's really good. And in an EX Burst and an Ifrit deck, it's really good. But I don't think that it's like you're like, oh, I'm going to cast this all the time.
Right. With that voice too.
Yeah. I'll be casting this on every turn.
That's like your elite duelist voice for sure.
Right.
Okay, next up we've got Ogre, which is a 4 CP monster, and he's category 9, which is cool. You can search him on Steiner. He's Job Ogre appropriately, and when he enters the field, he can choose between one of 2 abilities, and this is a common theme for monsters in this set, so get used to it. So Ogre becomes a forward with 8,000 power, sure, okay. It does not end at the end of the turn. Put Ogre into the break zone. When you do so, choose 1 forward, deal it 8,000 damage. So it's your slow monster speed summon that does 8k. It's exactly on curve in all of its abilities, in that 4 CP pays for 8k damage and 4 CP pays for an 8k forward. They just had to make this for like pack fodder and limited and stuff, but it's not. I don't think that there's enough synergy for this to be relevant and constructed.
You kind of want to talk about all these monsters as a whole, or maybe wait till closer to the other elements when we've kind of gone through all of them? Because they all, like you said, have a very similar effect.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's some that are better than others, but I just think that this one, as per usual, the fire one is one of the worst ones.
Yeah, unless you really want the variety of being able to turn it into a forward, which personally I don't rate very highly.
No.
I don't see why you'd run this over that Gabronk monster from Opus 10. He looks like a little goblin, and he's 4 cost, and he just blows up for 8k. But then I think if he gets to damage 5, it turns into like 10k.
Okay.
So
yeah.
again, if you're using it for that, other than that, I don't really care for it. Maybe in sealed, this would be solid because again, it's basically just like a form of removal. But in constructed, I just don't see why you'd ever use this.
Yeah, I fully agree. Okay, let's move on from this ogre.
Excellent. So we have Black Mage, which is a backup job standard unit from Final Fantasy XIV. Pretty much every one of the main jobs that you can play as in Final Fantasy XIV got a card this set, so this is going to be the first of many. Black Mage is a 2 CP backup. It has the effect pay 1 fire, dull, put Black Mage into the break zone, choose 1 forward, deal it 5,000 damage. Yeah, this is pack filler. Like, I don't know, would it have been too strong to dull this and just break it to deal 5k? Did you also have to pay a fire for that? Like, that just seems so expensive nowadays when you have cards like Vivi that on entry burn for 5k. You know, we'll have another card that does something burning. Like, I don't know. I guess... Well, see, and I was thinking, well, maybe, you know, because like the Geomancer card from Opus 10, you just dull and break that, but that only does 2k, so maybe they would have seen that as power creep, but that also can get you a card on entry. Like, this card does nothing else but that, so I don't know, that just seems really pricey to me to have a blank card when it comes down, and only if you pay a fire and dull it and break it do you then get to deal a modern 5k. Like, that seems very underwhelming to me.
Now, this is legitimately power creep. You might not remember this. There's a Black Mage in Opus 1 that is the exact same cost in every regard, and it deals 4k when it instead of 5k. And they reprinted it when they reprinted a bunch of things like Dancer. They reprinted and they put them in different categories and stuff in like Opus 8 or 9 or something like that. They reprinted that one again. Black Mage, fire, and then dull, put into the break zone, deal 4k. And I actually really like that card, and I'll tell you why it's better or different than Vivi to have a different costing or in terms of damage and EX burst and all that kind of stuff, is because it's a removable backup. You can play it for 2 CP to develop a backup, and then you can clear a spot when you need to. And it's a card that used to see a lot of play back in the day in Fire, and part of the reason was that Fire never had very many good backups, but it also finished off so many ping chains with Zandy, with Vivi, for example, like both Vivis. It was used to trade up and all sorts of things, so it actually does have a lot of utility, and the cost isn't bad at all. Like, this is, I think this is actually a really just solid card. I don't think that it's gonna break into too many constructed decks anymore, but it has a rich history of being played, let's just say that.
Awesome. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, so I mean, they thought it was, you know, like needed to be pushed one more K of power, so
interesting.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing then, because in Opus 11 we had all those summons that were tuned up just one over their Opus 1 versions.
Yeah.
So now they've got these new backups that they're tuning up a bit too. That's really interesting.
And that's natural. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Princess Goblin, and let me know if I'm using this term wrong, but I believe this is what the kids are calling a waifu. So this is a 2 CP Goblin, a Job Goblin backup this is World of Final Fantasy, which is incredibly relevant, very important category. When Princess Goblin enters the field, you may search for 1 Light Forward and add it to your hand, and then when Light Forward enters your field, put Princess Goblin into the break zone. I really like this card. I even just like it to search it with Light Forward and hang on to it, but it's also just good to have a waft backup. That's important. You guys mentioned that on the RVA Returners podcast. But I think this could be really cool to search for, oh my gosh, it's been so long. It's Citra, the Light Forward that you can pitch light cards to make people unable to block. Like, there's something there, but I don't think that, I feel like you guys said in the RVA's cast, that this could be played literally without a light card in the deck to be a waft backup and just be a blank text waft backup. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. She, it's very thematic for anyone who hasn't played the game. She kind of falls in love with the actual Warrior of Light in that game, so it's very appropriate that she searches a light forward. The second effect, I'm not sure what to think about. Surely there are some decks that can take advantage of that or abuse that. Maybe like you can play a nail and then you sack this off for nail's effect, so that way when your light guy comes down, it doesn't even break it. Or maybe again, it's an easy way to clear a backup. You know, you want to put your light forward in and then clear. So that part of it, I would have to kind of see in testing to see how truly great it is. But like you said, even if it's a blank Wolf card, it's great in that category. And just searching on a 2 CP backup does not feel bad. So yeah, it's good.
Now, is the idea that she breaks because if she were to actually meet the Warrior of Light, that he would have to kill her because she's a monster?
Well, so originally they are adversaries. She's like in control of this goblin horde, and so you have to go stop her. And then so she is essentially against you, but then the Warrior of Light, like she's like, okay, I'll stop, I'll reform, I'll change my ways. And then she kind of gets a crush on him the more and more she develops. But if I remember correctly, she also is like very flustered about that crush. Or maybe she's like super gung-ho. I don't 100% remember that part, but yeah, I assume that's why they were going with that thematic, is that she was kind of an enemy, but that she wasn't.
I'm glad we're hitting the important topics. So, and if you break her to play a light forward, then guess what? You can just play another one and get another light forward. So, you know, you're in business.
Very true.
All right, moving on.
All right, next we have Samurai. Samurai is our next 14 character. Category 14, job standard unit, 2 CP backup, multi-playable card named Samurai. For 3 fire, a dull, and put Samurai into the break zone, choose 1 forward. Deal it 8,000 damage. You can only use this ability if you control 3 or more job Samurai or card name Samurai. So obviously this is an instant include in a Samurai deck. Basically just, even if you never even use the effect, you know, you want as many Samurai as possible for Cyan's effect. We're going to see another Samurai coming up, which means this is another target to hit off of that. So this is one of those cards that the name alone, you'd play it just because of the name, because you just want more of that type of card. As far as the effect, you know, when I first saw this, I thought it was way too pricey. Like 3 fire, and you dull this, lose a backup, just for 8K, and then it has this restriction of you can only do this with 3 or more. And I was like, did it really need that restriction when it costs 4? But Alex actually just convinced me in the last few minutes that if you think about it on curve, like that Goblin or that Ogre card we were talking about, the monster, that if you consider 4 CP is about 8K, that's what you're paying here. You're paying 3 fire, and then you dull break him, so 4 CP for 8K. So maybe that really does make sense. And it is kind of nice. It's kind of cool when you see cards that are niched into a certain archetype or tribal. So yeah, you got to play this guy with Samurai. You can't just jam this into any fire deck. So the more I look at him, the more I actually really like this card.
I'm totally on board with that. I was the exact same as you. I saw this spoiled and I thought to myself, this is overcosted. And then when I did the math of how much CP they typically allocate for damage, it's on curve. So, I mean, you're going to be running it anyway. If you're going to, in a late game, it's actually good to have that kind of thing in your back pocket. Yeah, I don't mind it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Warrior, which is another 14 job, and it's actually the best tanking job in 14. Come at me. So Warrior is there. 3 CP, standard unit 7K. When Warrior enters the field, you may dull any number of active backups you control. When you do so, choose 1 forward, deal it 3,000 damage for each backup you dulled due to this ability. This is a really cool card. I think the text reads really nicely, but when you do the math, it's a little bit harder to figure out because he's 3 CP. So let's say you have 5 backups. If you dull 3 for him, then you can only do 6K with his ability, which means, you know, that's not really going to be enough. So you really want to be able to deal like 8K, and you can't do that. You have to do 9, which is 3 dulls. So that means you're pretty much always going to be pitching a card for this Warrior, which kind of throws off your CP management. It makes it a little bit trickier to play. You can use him in combination with all sorts of other ping cards as well, but if you want to use him as removal, it's going to be a little bit awkward. And if you're going for the 9K, then you can actually easily go up to the 12K on 5 backups. So I think this card has a lot of potential. I think that it's super balanced, but I'm really excited for it because, again, like if you have something that deals, like even in something like hypothetically like Waff, not that you're going to play this there, if you have Rain swing in and she does 5k on ping, and then you play this, you can get a 3k to finish something off really easily. And that's just an example of how this could fit into a fire deck. So I mean, because it's on curve, like I think it's just super fair.
Or you can be a super boss and pitch 2 cards from your hand, slam it down, and then tap those 5 backups, and then blow something up for 15k.
I don't know what
that
is.
That would be really awesome. No, you're right. He's a really cool effect. I really like cards that have these like overdrive effects where you can choose to pay more to do an additional thing, but you don't have to. Which means, he's still an on-curve body even if you didn't want to pay it. And yeah, like you said, I like that it kind of has that potential of like, ooh, I could really nuke you hard if I wanted to, or I could just play him off a 5. So yeah, he's a neat effect. Even if it is one of those cards that, like, even if he didn't end up being like great or seen much, it's a cool effect, and I like that they put stuff like this in the game.
There is actually one deck that it's important to think of this card in, and that's the reviving 3 CP or playing 3 CP cards for free deck, which is your Vaughns, your 7 CP Phoenixes, and some other cards that we're going to see this set. So there is a market where you try to play this for free, and then your CP's possibly more free. Like if you play you can be more economical with it. So or even if you just like play this off of Phoenix, you just need to tap 1 to make that Phoenix like a 10k burn. So maybe that's an okay way to play it. I don't know. All right.
All right. Another Warrior of Light. My good buddy Soul. Soul is a 1 CP, 2000 power forward, category FFL, Job Warrior of Light. He reads, if you control a Job Warrior of Light forward other than Soul, Soul gains haste. When Soul forms a party and attacks, you may search for 1 Job Warrior of Light of cost 2 or more and add it to your hand. So if it weren't for his second effect, I would dismiss this card immediately as complete junk, because the other Soul is really great. The other Soul is a 2 CP, 5k, and he also has the text that when you control another Warrior of Light, he gains haste, and he also gains 2000 power. So it's really easy to get that Soul up really high. And so in my opinion, that one was just so much superior to this in every way. The only benefit this one has is its search, and in particular, the fact that it searches 2 or more. If this searched 2 or less, I'd be like, this isn't worth it. But 2 or more, that means if he forms a party and attacks, you could go find your Aigis with this. You can find your Refia. You can find your Ferris. You can find any Warrior of Light that are the big ones. That's really cool. And also what's really nice about that is that the attack doesn't have to go through. They just have to form the party and declare the attack. You don't actually have to hit them damage, so they can block you, they can kill the Soul, whatever. That being said, of all the new ones that were added from this, he's the one I'm kind of the least sold on. Like, I still have a feeling it's ultimately going to be more worth it to play the other Soul because he's just the bigger body, but I will definitely test this guy, and I would be happy to be proved wrong and be like, dude, that feels great to have to be able to get that free search off.
So you're not sold on him. Yeah, I know. It's good to be back. I do actually like this guy a lot, and I mean, a 2 or more, cost 2 or more, that's every Warrior of Light. Like, are there other 1 CP Warrior Lights? It's just him. Like, yeah, I can't think of it. He literally just searches any Warrior Light that we have in the game right now, and it's job. So that's just amazing. So it's kind of interesting. We've had cards like this before that are going to come out super easily and be hasteable, but they usually do something like 2 CP Zidane, actually both 2 CP Zidanes. If they deal damage to you, there's going to be trouble. This is a little bit different. There's going to be a different kind of trouble. It's going to be the economic trouble for you as your opponent fills their hand with cards. So you have to be able to deal with this, but at the same time, by playing this, you're not really progressing. Like, you're not dealing an extra point of damage or anything, because he's just tagging along with somebody else, but you all are also refilling your hand. So I feel like this could get out of hand really quickly if someone's able to draw multiple times with it. So I think it's really cool. It's an interesting card for sure.
Point on him too. This was one concern I had, was that his power level is so weak at 2k. it's very reasonable that you could party him up with someone and your opponent could block and kill both forwards. Like, especially if your other forward's only like a 7k or something, like he could because this guy's only 2, so that's my one worry is he's just so weak. It's going to be so easy to get rid of him. But again, I just kind of have to see in practice how he feels.
I think that's why he can't search himself, because he's also just a 1 CP haste on an empty board. Like, if you play him with another Warrior of Light, you get to push an extra point of damage. And if he could, like, trade up and then search himself, and then you could play him next turn and haste him again, like, I think that was their consideration. Okay, moving on. We have Tenzen, who is our artwork in the background of this shot. If you can, Travis doesn't see the screen, but I can see what the overlay looks like. So Tenzen, he is a 6 CP 9k fire forward, job samurai, category 11. That's super good. He has brave, which is, samurai tend to be pretty brave. At the end of each of your turns, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 job samurai and one card named samurai among them to your hand, and return the others to the bottom of your deck in any order. And then when he leaves the field, you can actually choose a job samurai or a card named samurai of cost 3 or less in your break zone and add it to your hand. So he's going to be able to get you a ton of value over time. It's just a really nice, sturdy card for samurais. It's a beater for samurais, and it's going to be a sticky forward in that it gets you something back when it dies. It's just not a fun legend, but it's also just good for samurai to get support and to get a powerful card. But I always have a hard time with legends like this. Again, not because I think he's weak or bad or anything. It's just because it's like, this isn't like a legend thing. This is just kind of like a utility card. But he is cool, and the artwork is incredible.
Yeah, artwork's great. I feel your pain on that, especially in this set with the multi-element cards. This is the only fire legend in this set. This guy's it. So it is kind of, beforehand, you usually got one that was like, well, here's this very specific one, but now here's this one that kind of is just generic and helps everything. So I agree with you on that. That being said, man, he sounds like if they don't deal with this guy, he's just value after value. And what's nice is that when they do deal with him, it's so important that it says when he leaves the field. Mm-hmm. So they can Shantoto him, they can, Refia remove him from the game. Doesn't matter, he's still going to get that value. So that feels really, really good. Like, I can't wait for the samurai game. I can get him out, and they don't have an answer. And so, 4 turns in a row, I'm just samurai, samurai, samurai. You have no honor. Yeah, I can't wait to try him. It was funny when you said brave. Samurai are pretty brave. I'm playing through the PlayStation game right now, Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm playing as a samurai. And it's like, what if they came out with a keyword called cowardice? Like, every time your opponent attacks, your guy dulls because he can't be in battle. That'd be funny. Yeah, great card.
Excellent keyword. I love that. That would be my keyword. I'm the guy when I played pickup football as a kid, I get the ball and I start running away from everybody and I go backwards. I end up going backwards towards my own end zone because I'm like, don't hit me.
Keyword cowardice. Love it.
Okay, we got another very cool artwork card coming up here.
Yeah, speaking of some tribal synergy, we got another ninja. So this is a 2 CP backup job standard unit, category special, and it is card named Ninja, multi-playable. Great artwork, really love it. It says, when Ninja enters the field, choose 1 forward. It gains, when this forward attacks, choose 1 forward. Deal it 5,000 damage until the end of the turn. So, similar to the... God, what card was that I said that it was good just for existing on the field? I can't remember it. It was just
we're talking about the Goblin Princess for just to be a waff.
Yes. Yeah, so just by this being a ninja, it automatically gets value because it's a card you can hit in a ninja deck. And he really reminds me, so there's a lightning backup ninja that's played in that deck that it chooses a damaged forward and deals at 5k. So this is almost like a more proactive form of that in the sense that the forward doesn't even have to be damaged. You can enter this in the field. Let's say you've got a Sukinawa. You're probably going to have your edge out. He puts a counter on edge. When Sukinawa or edge then attacks that turn, boom, it deals at 5. Throw your shuriken, deal it another 8. Again, if this card was in a vacuum, it probably wouldn't be very good because that text seems like it's a little awkward. But because of the way ninjas work, and ninjas are already all about ping, 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 I think he's going to be really good. And he's going to, again, give you those turns where, cool, now when this guy comes in, you're getting hit for even more damage than you expected.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it has to be Ninja because that's where he just gets value for being on the field because you're going to have to play this guy for no value sometimes, and that's fine. Because if you were going to play this in a different deck, you might just play Vivi instead to do 5k on entry, and then if you're comboing anyway. So this is multi-playable. It doesn't take up the Vivi name. I think it does have its uses. There's a use that it has that I will I will allude to later, but it's a little janky. But yeah, let's move on from that one.
Look forward to that jank, ladies and gentlemen.
So we've got Bahamut, and everyone was so excited for this. Nice. Oh, I love that shirt. I didn't even realize what that was.
Bahamut shirt. Yeah, I wore it just for this guy. This is my favorite summon in all of Final Fantasy. Okay, I'll be quiet. Sorry, go ahead.
And it's not even a summon. This is a 3 CP fire forward, 7k, and its job is Bahamut. It's category 10, which is rad, and then it has a bunch of text. So if you have 3 or more fire summons in your break zone, Bahamut gains 2000 power. That's pretty easy to do. If you have 7 or more fire summons in your break zone, Bahamut's also going to gain, when he attacks, deal 5k to all forwards your opponent controls. That is harder to do, but a very cool effect, and there's lots we can do to play with that. Then he has multiple specials. He has Impulse, which is a 1-card Bahamut and a fire, deal 4,000 damage to all the forwards you control. Right there, there's some synergy. And then I can't read what this one says. What does it say? The second
says Mega Flare.
Oh, there we go. Okay, it was on your shirt. And this is just a Bahamut card and a doll, and it's gonna allow you to choose one forward and deal 9,000 damage, which is really, really nice power for the cost, although you do lose that forward that's attacking. But yeah, I mean, this card naturally builds with itself because it has specials and then benefits from fire summons being in the break zone. So you could just stack all the Bahamuts that we have in the game into the break zone, the summons that is, and then this card is powerful. If you use his specials, you're powering up his passive abilities. So, I mean, sweet, awesome.
Yeah, he looks cool. So Bahamut's design from Final Fantasy X, technically this is 10-2, the Dark Am, same design, is some of my favorite Bahamut. Bahamut is, to me, the best summon, and he's often, he's hard to get, but he's always super powerful. He gives you the Mega Flare. He's usually the first summon in the games that can break the damage limit. So this is the first time we've had a summon card that's now a forward. So I'm really curious to see how this will work out, because all those specials can be other Bahamut summons. You can have that 9-cost summon Bahamut in hand. Maybe he's too expensive to cast. Hey, I'll just burn him for one of these specials. He's so thematic. Like Impulse, if you've never played 10, is this move where he charges up these dark orbs on his body and he hits all the enemies with him. So again, for that to hit 4k, and you can stack it with his attack to deal 5. So this guy can do 9k to a board if you've got that, or just 9k to someone if he needs to Mega Flare. Yeah, he sounds so fun. I'm definitely going to try him. Again, maybe he'll be one of these ones that getting that many summons in your break zone or having the specials in hand is too weird. But again, I think this is one of the few cards where having the specials in your hand might be played so differently, because all those specials are summons that, the problem with other specials is that you already have that forward out on the board. So that card is dead in your hand other than for that special ability. You can't play that forward again, whereas this one, you can use those other Bahamuts to just use their summon effect, or maybe it's more beneficial. So for the first time ever, you've got a card that you have the choice what to do with the special as opposed to holding it for that specific situation. So I'm really excited about him. I hope he ends up being really cool. Yeah, great. I'm excited.
Well, you heard it here first. Bahamut is top of the summon tier list, and that is bumping Choco Mogin to second place.
Aww.
All right, take it away.
All right. This is Forza. It's been a long time since I played 5. I don't remember this character at all. But this is Forza. He's from Final Fantasy V. That's his category. He is a job fighter. He is a 3-cost 9k forward. However, he reads, you cannot cast Forza. When Forza enters the field, choose one forward opponent controls. Deal it 7,000 damage. So they kind of clarified what casting mean. Casting basically means to pay a CP cost. So what that means is that you can't tap 3 backups and put this guy down on the field. You can't tap a backup, pitch a card, and put him down. He basically has to be cheated in some way. What are some ways to do that? Well, Phoenix is always the big obvious one. You could play the big 7-cost Phoenix, cheat this guy into the field. Boom, he's gonna nuke something. Phoenix will hit something for 8. This guy will hit something for 7. And now you've got a big 9k body. Generally in the game, restrictions like this tend to be too much for these cards to overcome. They tend to keep the cards from ultimately seeing much play because, again, it's this whole rigmarole you have to do when you have other cards that you can just play how they are. That being said, I do think he's well balanced in the sense that, like, it's a good entry effect, and then he's a big body, you know, under curve for that effect. So really it's just going to be, how can you cheat this guy out? Is that alone going to be worth it? Because otherwise, you know, if you're at the end of a game and I need a forward right now. Oh, cool, a forward I can't actually play. So yeah, he's going to be an interesting one to watch. Always happy to see a mono artwork. So Alex, what ways can we cheat this guy in with?
Well, we've got 7 CP Phoenix. We've got cards like Vaughn. We have any sort of break zone recursion like Devout. And we're so close to this other card that can do it, but we're not quite there yet. Yeah, this card is pretty interesting. I think it's just a really interesting card, but I think you're gonna, like, your deck is, again, it's gonna be this cheating forward in deck. It's very specifically, you can't play this in just any deck. There's no point in attacking this with like a Phoenix and saying like, I'm covered. That's not true. You're not. So, right. Yeah. All right, next up we have Blaze, and I don't know why this guy was made, like whoever designed this character. What were they doing? This reminds me of Twisted Metal, the old PlayStation game. Like I'm totally blanking on the guy that drives the ice cream truck. That's
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth, yeah. That's what this reminds me of. So he is a 4 CP fire backup job crystal bearer, which is, since I haven't played this game, that's even more intriguing to me because he doesn't look like a crystal bearer. Category FFCC, which is always relevant. EX burst: when he enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards, deal him 5,000 damage, put him into the break zone, put him into the break zone, and then choose 1 forward, deal 7,000 damage. So this is combining 2 previous cards. We had an Opus 4 Black Mage that was a standard unit, no EX burst, came in and did the ETB here. And then we've got cards like Tella, which is a 3 CP fire backup that you can break at any point to do 7k. This is both of those effects on one card with an EX burst, but it is a non-multi-playable. So obviously it's like got a lot going for it. Again, you have to build specifically around this. Something like WAF, this actually works with quite well. If you play this and then you swing with 1 forward to break, like your powerful forward, and then you swing with your little forward or something. But then you're playing this backup in WAF, and that's not really going to happen because you don't have that much backup space. But there's other ping-based decks that you can have fun with, and the fact that it can break itself for no extra CP cost is super valuable as well. It's just tough. At 4 CP, you really have to be planned around this because it's not going to be a card you can play just to get a backup down. You're going to lose a lot of value there.
I'm glad you mentioned those 2 cards because who I thought of first when I did this is a backup I still use to this day, and it's the Opus 2 or 3 Vivi. Vivi, he's a 2-cost backup that does 5k on entry to a single target, and he's also on an EX burst. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, it's like Vivi plus 2, 2 more the cost, but you get another target. That being said, like, if you don't hit 2 targets with this probably feels pretty bad. So I feel like you want to hit two targets, but as I've discovered playing at Vivi, most of the time that's not the case. Usually I'm just trying to get one guy. His action effect, I think, totally saves him. Like, just dulling and breaking him to nuke something for 7 is really good. And he's on a burst, so I'll try him out for sure. But I have a feeling like if I wanted a cheap burst backup, I'd probably just go with Vivi. But I don't know, maybe this guy will surprise me. And yeah, Sweet Tooth is a great comparison because this guy looks crazy.
All right, the card I have been waiting for. Travis will introduce it.
This is Magissa. Magissa is a 4-cost 8k forward, category 5. Her job is Beastmaster. Beastmaster, for those who haven't played 5, was a job that could tame monsters and tame other creatures and make them work for you. So, her effect is an action ability. For 0 cost, you may search for 1 fire forward of cost 3 and play it onto the field. You can only use this ability if Magissa has received 4,000 damage or more and only once per turn.
Simple.
Man, what a card. Like,
seems so good.
The effect is undeniably good for, first of all, it's not limited to your turn. So you could cheat something in, like in the middle of combat with that. You can only do it once. There's no cost to it. And so it's on curve. So even if you're not getting that effect, you at least have an on-curve body. That being said, that effect is very awkward to have happen. Like, do you try to hope that you block something? I mean, surely they're not going to attack with a forward that's going to let you trigger this effect. So it feels like you'll have to come up with ways to maybe you self-damage her. Maybe you play your VV back up or something that can target your own forwards, and you self-damage her on purpose so that you can trigger her ability. But as we saw with the Baigen card from, I think it was Opus 9 too, the other issue too is that she has this range where she has to receive 4,000 to 7,000 damage, because if she receives 8, she'll just die via damage process, so you won't actually get to be able to, I think, right? Or am I wrong on that? Or is this worded differently, that as long as she takes 4 or more?
No, the way that I...
my understanding was that if they...
Yeah, I don't think she can actually respond to use this ability if she's dying from damage. I believe you're right.
Okay, so she wouldn't... So if that's correct, then yeah, similar, she has this window, hit me for 4, 5, 6, or 7, I can use this effect. Otherwise, I can't. Yeah, wow, she's so fascinating. Love this Amano artwork. I'm gonna let Alex gush about her.
Yeah, this is probably the best card in the set. You know, I'm just it's cool. And I actually so I went around looking for like what this will work with, and there's not as much as you think. That ninja that we just talked about can literally set up a way to ping this, but that's way too much work. You don't want to necessarily do that, although it could be one of many ways. The biggest issue with the card is that it's a 4 CP 8K, and it's a lot to invest in if it doesn't work out, if they remove it or anything like that. That's kind of a pain. But we have multiple 1 CP bomb monsters. So we have the Opus 4 bomb that does 5K. That you could just have out ahead of time. You could bring it out with Realm or with Urianger if you're doing lightning water, or sorry, fire water, or fire lightning, which are both decks that exist. Then there's actually ways to play these bombs. So there's the 1 CP Opus 11 bomb, which does 4K to a target and go up to 10K if you're able to get bomb counters on it. So there are ways to like set this up as a self combo that are not that hard. You have to play these bombs, and then you're bringing in all these 3 CP forwards. For example, Alphinaud and the one that we were just talking about, which is Forza. You're bringing them in, and you're getting a bunch of value off of them. So that's the idea. You can also just play her, and it's gonna deter other ping-based decks. So if this is like I could almost see her like in a Dataluma meta. How good would she have been? Right? Like no one's ever going to use their Dataluma on her because you're just going to keep searching and playing. Well, I guess at a certain point it's just the one time, so maybe not. But the point is that this is fully doable. You just have to build your deck super specifically around it. So while I'm very excited about it as a deck builder and as a player, as a competitive player, I'm not that excited about it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever risk taking this to a tournament, but it would be good against WAF, because when a WAF, they're gonna hit you for 4, so they're gonna trigger it at least once. Yeah, she's really neat. She's really neat, for sure. Alex,
all right. We've got one card left, and this card we actually talked about once before when we did a spoiler video way back when, because this is again one of the early cards that we talked about, and this is Lani. So Lani is a 4 CP 7K fire forward job headhunter, which is an important job, category 9, which is an important category. When Lani enters the field, your opponent removes the top card of their deck from the game face down. You can look at it and you can cast it as if you owned it. Anytime that you would normally be able to cast this card, and the cost for casting it is reduced by 2 CP, and it can be used paying CP of any element. So we had this another one of our hypothetical talks about like how this doesn't really impact the board right away. It could later, depending on the card you get. You could get a bunch of value. Depending on the card you take away, another perspective, you could get a bunch of value. And then on the inverse of those two perspectives, you could get no value and you could take away a card they didn't need. So it's totally random, and there's no actual tangible effect on the board when you play her. You've just played an undercurve for CP forward. So that's where I don't like her that much, but she's certainly going to be a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, it's really been fun to see the different reactions to this card. I've said myself, I don't like her conceptually because I don't like the idea of stealing your opponent's cards, but that has led some people to say, like, dude, she's busted. Like, that's so dumb. You shouldn't be able to do that. But on the inverse, like you said, if you put her down and you steal nothing of value, like, and what if it's something you can't even cast? This card basically did nothing. You just overpaid for a body. Like, so she'll be one to watch. My prediction is that there's just too much randomness to this card to ever make her like truly consistent and competitive. But do I think a lot of people are going to try her out, and we're going to have a lot of games where you're like, haha, take your own Ifrit or take your own Bahamut 0 or something. Yeah. Oh, we're going to have a lot of those.
Let's put it this way. I would rather play Magissa than this card. I would rather spend 4 CP on Magissa than I would on Lani. So, and you know what? Like, to anyone that says like, oh, like it's really unfair to take a card away from your opponent, it's like, well, I mean, don't play this game, because discard and mill are both part of the game, and it's like, this isn't a new mechanic. There's nothing like special here besides like playing the card yourself. Like it's
yeah, that's it. You're not just making them discard. You're giving someone that E2 Brutus. You use my own card against me. Like, I think that's the crazy part.
I guess so. Yeah, you're gonna use my Blue Eyes White Dragon against me. Okay.
Like, yeah, Yugi, how could you? My very own Blue Eyes.
Yeah, if I steal someone's card, I'm gonna rip it off and throw it off a ferry. Okay, that's actually it, because there's only 18 fire cards, and we forgot to mention that the way that we're going to do the multi-element cards is we're actually going to do them at the very end in a 7th video with the light and dark legends, so you can just hold on. Please be patient, everybody, while we bring those videos to you. There's going to be a little delay after this one comes out before we have time to record again, but we're going to come out with lots of videos by the end of the week, so please look forward to those.
And it should all be out before the set even officially releases, which is still technically like a week or 2 off.
That's the plan.
Yeah, be patient. A lot of great stuff coming, and as always, thanks for joining us. Alex, so happy to be back.
Congratulations, us. Good job, Alex. Good job, Travis.
Good job, team.
And good job, viewer. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah.